first got my Calathea Medallion last year in October. So this plant has lived with me for the last 9, almost 10 months or so. It's grown about a foot since then, and I imagine that it'll continue to fill out, but probably won't get any taller than it is now. And it's the first plant that I've had in my house in years, and I bought it on an impulse, which I know you're not supposed to do. So once I got in the car, I got on my phone and did a quick Google search and realized that Calatheas have a reputation for being difficult houseplants, and so I scoured the internet to find out how to keep it healthy. The first thing that I learned, and it's important, is that Calatheas do best with distilled water, being native to Brazil and used to being on the forest floor. The water from my tap is really hard and it's element heavy. And this is nothing like what a Calathea would be exposed to in its natural environment. And since I don't currently store rainwater, though I'm going to be looking into doing that later this year, I opted for store-bought distilled water instead. And this is really important because my Calathea already had brown, crispy leaf tips. And after reading about it, that was likely from being exposed to chlorinated water. And I really didn't want to exacerbate this. The foliage on the Calathea Medallion is really exaggerated. It has multiple shades of green and these really bold, striking patterns. They're really beautiful, and so I wanted to preserve that as much as possible. And so I was very careful to make sure, again, only to use distilled water. One of the things that I learned about my Calathea Medallion the first night that I had it was that it was heliotropic, and I've never had a plant that's heliotropic before, and that means that its leaves raise in the evening when it's done with photosynthesis and then lower again in the morning when it's ready to collect more sunlight. And again, it can be really shocking. If you've never had a heliotropic plant, you might see its leaves raised and think that you've killed it. Don't worry. My Calathea actually moves in a different way as well, in that independent of temperature or soil moistness or humidity, when it wants water, its tallest stem begins to droop. And again, independent of anything else, I know that's when it wants water most. And so I make sure to water it then. And again, it just seems really strange. Calatheas are somehow able to communicate through movement. And once my Calathea goes ahead and the medallion lets its leaves down in the morning for sunlight, the kind of light that it really wants is what it would get in its native habitat in Brazil. Again, on the forest floor, it's going to want really bright, filtered light. It doesn't want direct sun. That can definitely burn the leaves. And so I've done something you're not supposed to do with the plant. And I've moved it around a bit because we did do some renovations in the house and it really had to move from room to room as painting was happening, as floors were being put down. And as long as I kept the type of light that it was getting consistent and kept it away from drafts, I really didn't have a problem. So while Calatheas, I know, have a reputation for being difficult, I've only ever had one real Calathea emergency. And that was when one night I went into the kitchen and all of the stems on my Calathea Medallion were almost flat with the rim of the pot. I kind of panicked. I didn't know what to do. I got online and I found a Reddit forum where a user had exactly the same problem and someone had responded with really good advice. They said that if the soil was moist and so the plant wasn't dehydrated, that what could be happening was the soil around the roots of the plant maybe the soil was clumping and thus depriving the roots of oxygen and essentially suffocating the plant. So I immediately leapt into action. I repotted my Calathea, and this is the first time that I really gave a lot of thought to soil composition. I went ahead and I used a third of a cactus/succulent soil. I used a third nutrient-dense soil, and I used a third perlite. By 10 a.m. the next morning, so 12 hours later, the plant had 100% recovered. And I'm not the only one who enjoys having the Calathea in my house. Since acquiring my Calathea medallion, I've actually acquired quite a few more. However, this medallion is a favorite of my cats. And what's nice is Calatheas are non-toxic to pets, though my cats definitely do not chew on my Calathea. They love to get up on the table, which they're not supposed to do, and check on it and rub against it and kind of just see how the Calathea is doing. I've enjoyed sharing my home with my Calathea medallions so much that I've not only acquired more Calatheas, but I've expanded my overall houseplant collection as well. And I'll probably make some more videos about that soon. Until then, be well and take care.